Chapter 1. Her first Canadian snow. Suzanne stepped off the GO train into the crisp dawn of a Toronto winter. Snowflakes drifted around her like confetti over city pavement. She'd come to paint the city's winter gardens but felt lightheaded. Maybe from the cold, maybe something else entirely. She paused at Allen Gardens, awestruck by frost on glass pane. A barista ushered her inside with a warm smile. He handed her a latte dusted in cinnamon. She rubbed her hands with gratitude. "Thanks." He smiled. "Johnny." "Suzanne." He brushed a vial of steam from her mug. "Welcome to Canada." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. That moment, their hands touched, brief, warm, electric. Chapter 2. Botanical inspiration and subtle sparks. Suzanne spent the afternoon roaming greenhouses, painting orchids and ferns under grow lights. Johnny watched from behind a camera. Later, he approached. "Mind if I take a shot?" he asked quietly. She looked up, paintbrush dripping. "Sure." He captured her focused profile, curls framing her face, eyes intent, breath forming mist in cold air. "May I show you somewhere?" he said. "Outside the garden." She closed her paint box. "Lead the way." They walked through quiet streets to a small cafe housed in a restored Victorian home. He ordered 2 maple lattes with extra whipped cream. They shared benches and gossip, her love of art, his obsession with capturing honest moments. His fingers brushed hers, reaching for his drink. They froze and smiled. Chapter 3. Ice skates and midnight confession. That evening, Johnny invited Suzanne to Nathan Phillips Square to skate under twinkling lights. She wobbled at first. He held her hand firmly. Each lap warmed them more than the temperature. They stopped midway. Ice scratched under their blades. His hand settled on her waist. She looked up. "I haven't done this in years." He brushed snow from her cheek. "Then don't let it end tonight." They kissed, a sweet, shy brush, then more intent, breath visible in the cold air. She felt dizzy with the feel of him so near. You make Toronto feel like home. Chapter 4. Warmth in a tiny apartment. Back at Johnny's cozy Toronto loft, he lit a fire and peeled off his jacket. Suzanne took off her gloves, slipping away from the chill. He offered her thick socks. "Let's get you warm." Sitting by the hearth, he draped a blanket over them, keeping spare mugs of hot chocolate at hand. She rested her head on his shoulder. He brushed her hair, fingertips trailing across her collarbone. "I see art everywhere," he murmured. "Especially in how you move." Susie looked up, eyes glistening. "Show me yours." He smiled and tilted her chin. Their kiss deepened by fireside, slow and melting. Chapter 5. Canvas and Camera. The next morning, Suzanne painted in his loft. Through the window, snow-coated rooftops. Johnny quietly snapped pictures, her painting strokes, her tongue caught between teeth as she mixed color. She drifted behind him and traced his bicep. "Can I paint you?" He turned. "Sit there." She perched him on a stool and captured his profile in charcoal. He leaned forward and kissed her temple. "Your art to me now." Their laughter and soft touches tangled as she painted and he photographed, building intimacy through creativity. Chapter 6. A night in the snow. That evening, Johnny pulled out a thermos and 2 blankets. "Trust me," he said. They drove to a snowy trail outside the city. He laid the blankets, the thermos steaming in the moonlight. They sat close. He pressed the flask to her lips. They sipped hot cider. The cold felt distant. She turned to him. His eyes reflected the stars. She lifted her face. He kissed her, softly at first, then with growing hunger. Snowflakes caught in her hair. Their breath and hearts warmed each other. He traced the line of her coat, slid it off her shoulders. She wore only a thin sweater beneath. The sweater joined the fire later in the back seat. every inch savoring, every sigh echoing through the snowy silence. Chapter 7. Winter Markets and Wandering Hands. The next day, Johnny and Suzanne wandered through a holiday market near Distillery District. String lights hung like constellations over cobbled streets. She bought hand-knit gloves. He insisted on buying her a maple sugar cookie. They shared bites from each other's hands. When her tongue brushed his fingertip, Johnny's gaze darkened. Later, tucked between market stalls, he pressed her against a wooden post. "You taste like cinnamon," he murmured into her neck. "And you smell like trouble," she whispered. Their kiss turned into a slow devouring, hidden in plain sight. When they parted, she was breathless. Chapter 8. The Art of Undressing. That night, Suzanne returned to Johnny's apartment. The lights were low, a jazz record spinning softly. He offered her a glass of wine, but she shook her head. "I want something else." They stood face to face. He ran his hands slowly up her arms, watching her shiver. She reached for the hem of his sweater, pulling it off inch by inch. His hands mirrored her touch, guiding her out of her blouse, kissing each patch of exposed skin like a sacred vow. They explored each other slowly, savoring the rhythm of fingers, gasps, and unspoken words. Chapter 9. Morning after. Coffee and kisses. Sunlight crept into the room, casting golden stripes across the bed, where their limbs were tangled. Johnny woke first, pressing a kiss to her bare shoulder. She stirred, smiled, and wrapped herself around him. "Don't go," she murmured, half asleep. "I'm not going anywhere." He brought her breakfast in bed, coffee, fruit, and a note sketched with a small charcoal portrait of her sleeping. "You're impossible," she whispered, "but you're still here." They stayed under the covers all morning, trading kisses and secrets. Chapter 10. A Past Revealed. Later, over dinner at a tucked-away bistro, Johnny opened up. "My last relationship ended because I put my work before her." Suzanne reached for his hand. "You're not that man anymore." He searched her eyes. "You make me want to slow down." She squeezed his fingers. "You already have." When they returned to his apartment, the passion returned with a new depth. It wasn't just lust, it was vulnerability. Every touch said, "I trust you." Every sigh said, "Stay." Chapter 11. Snow Angels and Soft Promises. One morning, they walked to a park blanketed in fresh snow. Susan laughed and threw herself into the powder, arms wide. Johnny fell beside her, brushing her hair back. "You've ruined me," he said softly. "For better or worse?" "For better. Always." She rolled toward him, kissed him in the snow, cold lips warming through touch. That night, he whispered into her hair, "If you stayed, I'd build you a studio in this apartment. Paint, sketch, do whatever you want." She smiled. "Maybe I don't want to leave." Chapter 12. Storms over the lake. A week later, they visited Lake Ontario. The sky had turned gray, wind rushing off the water. Johnny took photos of Suzanne, her scarf dancing in the wind, eyes lit with something wild. "You look like a woman who belongs to the storm." She smiled. "Maybe I am." But as thunder rumbled in the distance, he caught her hand. Even storms have calm centers. They kissed as the first drops fell, slow, reverent. They made love in the back of his car, fog clouding the windows, the rhythm of rain matching their breathless dance. Chapter 13. The Call. The next morning, Suzanne's phone buzzed. She frowned. "It's the gallery in Montreal. They want me back early. They're offering a solo exhibition. It's everything I've been working toward." Johnny looked at her, proud but guarded. "And it's in Paris." A long silence. "Are you going to go?" "I don't know yet." That night, they didn't make love. They held each other tightly, pretending the walls around them weren't starting to tremble. Chapter 14. Separation Anxiety. They tried to continue as before, Ice skating, brunch, laughter, but tension simmered beneath. At a bookstore, Suzanne watched Johnny flip through a photography magazine. She leaned over. "You could come to Paris?" he said, blinking. She hesitated. "Why not?" He ran a hand through his hair. "I have roots here. Projects. People relying on me." They walked in silence for blocks. Words hung between them like frozen raindrops. Chapter 15, Breaking Point. That night, they argued. "You knew I was leaving eventually," she said, arms crossed. "I didn't think I'd fall for you." She turned away. "You think I didn't?" He moved toward her. "Then stay. Stay with me." She shook her head. "I want to, but I also want to grow." Tears welled in her eyes. He touched her face. "Then go. But don't expect me to stop missing you." Chapter 16, The Airport. A week later, Suzanne stood at Pearson Airport, her ticket in hand. Johnny wasn't there, or so she thought. As she approached the gate, she heard him call her name. She turned. He was breathless, hair windswept, holding something in his hand. It was a photograph. Her, painting in his apartment, sunlight catching in her hair. "For you." A reminder. Tears spilled over. She kissed him, long and deep. "I'll be back." "You better be," he said, trying to smile through tears. Chapter 17. Paris is not the same. Suzanne arrived in Paris to the soft glow of golden evenings and the hum of artistic life. The exhibition was a success. Her paintings hung in tall windowed galleries, her name printed on velvet cards. But when she stood before a crowd, she felt something missing. After the applause, the wine, the interviews, her mind returned to snowy nights, flannel sheets, and a crooked smile that called her home. Each night, she stared at the photo Johnny gave her. He hadn't written, neither had she. Chapter 18. Letters Never Sent. Back in Toronto, Johnny buried himself in photography. The cafe, the gallery shows, the new clients. None of it silenced the ache. He wrote letters to her. Dozens. Some poetic, some simple. None mailed. He kept them in a drawer, next to her glove she'd forgotten in his car. He scrolled through the pictures of her in the snow, on the lake, asleep on his couch, unable to delete a single one. Chapter 19. The Gallery Surprise. 3 months later, Suzanne received an invitation to a gallery show in Toronto. The name on the front? Johnny Carson. What We Left Behind. The invite made her hands tremble. She booked a flight the next morning. Chapter 20. A room full of memories. The night of the show, Suzanne stepped into the softly lit space. Photographs lined the walls. Her painting, laughing, sketching in the park, their shadows entangled in snow. At the center was one final piece, her silhouette walking away, coat in the wind, backlit by golden dusk. Johnny stood beside it, in a black jacket, eyes scanning the crowd. Then he saw her. Everything stopped. Chapter 21. No more goodbyes. They approached each other silently. No cameras, no sketch. Just heartbeats and eyes brimming with unsaid words. "I saw everything," she whispered. "I felt everything." He swallowed. "I wasn't sure you'd come." She touched his chest. "I didn't want to live in a city of light without the one who showed me how to see." He kissed her, slow and grounding, in front of the entire gallery. "Will you stay this time?" he asked. She smiled. "If you promise I'll never be just a memory on a wall." He held her close. "You'll be everything."